Yeah.
Was the executive staff always from? You're picking students that were at Metro Congress. I mean, how did you know the students that ended up on exec?
Yeah, the chairs were from the metro area. One from Sunset, one from Aloha, and one or two from someplace else.
And those other ones, who picked those? Other teacher friends of yours, or?
Well, I talked to the advisors and said, if you have somebody that's really good, then let me know and we'll talk to them. But they had to agree, by the way, to if the kids was going to take a job as either rules chairman or or platform or national chair, they had to be able to come to Metro.
Oh, okay.
Because that's where the training took place. Is that George Bush?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was he? How was
Yeah, he was good.
How so? You want to?
He again, this was
In
he
80.
viewed all of this as like it was at a real convention. I mean, he acted like it, and I'm telling you, it's interesting because every candidate who spoke, pretty soon they weren't talking to kids anymore. They were well, first place they were talking to the television camera, just
Right.
like in the real world.
Right.
And that's how they acted. And the kids were just irrelevant. The cameras are over here, across the Coliseum, and they do it by telephoto lens, and so it's fine. And at the real convention, same thing. When those speeches are given, they're given not just to the convention people, they're given to the whole country.
Right.
And so they operated from that point of view. There's a picture of her, by the way, too. Some reporter down here, I was on the floor talking to her, and she said, this is amazing. We were at the Coliseum. She said, this is the best kept secret in the Western world, this convention there. I said, this is exactly like the real convention. And she loved it.
And this was a national reporter?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, she was from one of the network stations. I think I have it written down somewhere.
So George Bush was charismatic and...
Yeah, he was. This is the father, you understand.
Father of who?
What?
Whose father?
I mean, the George Bush thing, it was the real one. Not the kid.
No, I know that. Yeah, but who's this? Yeah, Herbert Walker
Oh,
Bush.
yeah. That's... Oh, just a moment here. Uh-huh. Well, there's two of them looking. You know who Robert Straub is? He was governor for a while of Oregon.
Yeah, I know some buildings that are named after him,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
Okay, this is either Straub or the guy that ran in the last 10 elections, and I got him to, just a second here. I got him to speak, and he came, and the reason he came, by the way, was that he wanted to talk to the governor of Oregon. Now, right here. God, the name isn't there. this guy here. I think that of their picture is Straub, but this fella here came from Virginia to the convention, and we gave him time at the podium. And the reason he came is that he wanted to talk to the governor of Oregon, and when we brought him up on the stage, the governor was sitting on the second row of seats, and I were sitting on the fourth row of seats. And he wanted to go up and talk to the governor, and it was Kulingoski he wanted to talk to. And I said, okay, I'll go up and check and see if he'll talk to you. So I went up and talked to Kulingoski and his handler, and they said, no, we don't want to talk to him. And they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came back and told this guy, I said, well, he's still, I had to lie in the process, that he wants to focus on his speech. And so he doesn't want to be interfered with that now. And so he never did get a chance to talk to him. And I think this is the Secretary of State and then the governor later on.
Who's Boyd Applegarth?
He's the superintendent of the Beaverton School District.
Oh, okay.
We always had the superintendent speak just for publicity things for us,
Right.
not for the district.
Right.
But that means, I mean, all the superintendents loved it. You know,
Of course.
we're talking big time publicity here. I mean, no other program in the state draws this kind of publicity.
Right.
And the Beaverton School District was getting it every 4 years. And in fact, George Erickson was our principal at Sunset, you know, and when the president was coming to town one day, we ordered 4 buses to take us to the airport to participate in this. And George Erickson said, no, so we aren't going to have buses take kids to the airport to talk to somebody like this. And so I called the superintendent, Boyd Applegarth, and I said, you know, Erickson says that they aren't going to send us the buses. Can we take care of that? And Boyd Applegarth said, oh, sure. You know, I had his daughter in class. And so
It's a good way of getting things
he
done.
says, we'll get the buses there. You need any more? And Erickson said, when we got back, he talking to Merlin and I, and he said, here you are. He says, you've gone behind my back and went anyway. He says, you'll pay for this. And luckily, that was the last year I was at Sunset.
Was he getting rid of you or what?
No, well, I suppose that was part of it, but
Yeah, that's good. You want to be liked by the principal enough that they don't punish you, but not so well liked that they don't want to get rid of you.
yeah, that's right.
There's Ronnie.
Who? Oh, yeah, yeah.
How was Reagan?
Yeah, he was excellent also.
He was excellent.
When they came here, you know, I'm telling you, there was something infectious about this. When these candidates came, they weren't talking to kids anymore.
Now, we've mentioned George Herbert Walker Bush being charismatic and good with the students, and Bill Clinton and Reagan. And you mentioned Nelson Rockefeller, but
Yeah.
besides Rockefeller, were there any other candidates that were really good at the convention that were very unsuccessful in the real convention or in real election? I mean, were there any really good candidates who came out
Yeah,
who didn't win?
George, the Idaho, Frank Church canceled at the last minute. So he wasn't, you know, I mean, he didn't think much about it. His people, though, wished he'd have been there.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Well, Jimmy Carter was great also.
But I'm wondering about candidates who were great at the convention, lost the election, lost the nomination. Were there some that you just thought, man, that person should have won? It would have been great.
That's an interesting point. Thought never occurred to me, but did everybody we have win?
Well, no, I mean, I know you had people who didn't win, but I mean, you had Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson didn't win the nomination.
No, but he wasn't a regular candidate either. I mean, he was always considered a minor candidate.
Well, you had Stassen, you had all kinds of people
Yeah.
who came who didn't win the actual nomination.
Yeah, but
But
I
of
mean,
those, were any of them really something special?
yeah, but the interesting thing was that I think that's a good point. I'm going to have to check this out. I think everybody that we had did good. No, well, no. Okay, 64. He did not win.
Rockefeller.
What?
Rockefeller.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to Reagan. You're a liberal, right?
Yeah.
Did you and you liked Reagan's visit? Did he sway your mind in your own personal politics in any way?
No.
He didn't win you over?
No. But
Did it bother you that he was there?
no, of course not. This. No, I'm not that stupid. This was a classroom thing for us, but it was more than that. It was the real world thing brought into the school, or vice versa. The kids were taken out to the real world.
Right.
Okay, and so it made no difference that Merle or I or Bill, whether it was Republican or Democrat, we wanted to get the best learning experience for the kids.
Right.
Okay, and so, and that's what we did. Now, we had Nixon, you know, I told you, we had asked him and we put a lot of pressure on that. We also did it with Goldwater. But the Nixon people kept hedging, you know, and weren't going to do it. And then finally they said, okay, but then it was too late. We had switched parties, I mean.
Right.
And so, no, it was fine that we had him. Besides, even though they were, Rick Reagan is talking Republican politics, and his wife was nice, by the way, too. It had no effect at all about my personal politics, either good or bad. It made no difference.
Was there, you tell that story about Bill Clinton waiting, signing signatures.
Yeah.
Were there any clear memories of Reagan's visit or funny experiences with that?
The best program of that was Reagan wanted to talk to the California delegation. And of course there were a lot of them, 186 or 200, something like that. And so we asked them if we could set that up, and they said, oh yeah, no problem, he'd be happy to do that. But they didn't want to get him assassinated, because being out there with all those kids, you got a chance of that. And so the Secret Service said that they came to the Coliseum in advance, and there was a room in the Coliseum, a lot of them, as a matter of fact, down in the basement, that are just surrounded by cement walls that thick. And so they had one big room like that. So they said, okay, when he comes, what we'll do is, when we first get there, we'll take Reagan into this room, you bring the California delegation in, and we'll spend a half hour with them or so. And so that took place, no problem. We got the delegation and walked him in. I think I told you about this. And I was behind the delegation, and Tom was behind me. And so, and I had this button on that they give you. That means you've cleared security. You can go wherever you like.
Right.
And so they had 2 guards at the door, and all the kids went through. We verified that none of them are going to kill the president. And so I walked in, and Tom walks into the door, and the guy put his hand on Tom's chest and stopped him. He says, "Not you, sir." But I had already gone in, and they closed the door, and I didn't know what happened to Tom. And he has enough sense to not argue that point. He just, okay, no problem. And he didn't go in. Same with Kristen, his daughter.
Uh-huh.
So we were in there for about a half hour, and I wondered where Tom went. So when we got out, there's Tom standing outside.
How long do candidates come for? Just a few hours? They just fly in, do the speech, and fly right out, or?
The candidate?
Yeah.
They usually planned something extra,
Right.
like talking to probably, I think, the chair of the Oregon Oregon campaign.
Mm-hmm. The real Oregon campaign.
Yeah,
Yeah, not the students, right?
the real one.
Yeah.
But let's see, with, yeah, they weren't here very long. I mean, I think Reagan, when they got through, they went back to the airport. Same with Kennedy, went back to the airport.
You got photos here of Neil Goldschmidt.
Yeah,
What'd you think about Neil Goldschmidt
I thought he was excellent.
as
Now-
mayor and governor? And
Yeah, but the problem was that he'd been messing with that girl,
right.
Now, I thought about that after he'd been out. I mean, he'd been messing with this girl for whatever 8 years or something. And I said to myself and to Susan, I said, I'm going to get a hold of him and see if he can help us raise money. And so the next morning, I was going to call him, and I was going to do it through Tom, because Tom was a friend of his. And
Tom's a friend of his.
What?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, and the reason is that Tom was mayor of Hillsborough, and
Uh-huh.
they had contact. Well, anyway, that morning the paper had this expose of
Right.
Goldsmith, and I thought, now that goes my
Right.
requesting him to do that. So, but it was interesting how that took place. Just I had decided to use him, and the next morning it was canceled.
Yeah, I mean, foolish things that people can do, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to the restroom. Be right back.
Yeah.